All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on this invisible empire that pretty much rules our world. And it's an empire that wasn't built on armies, but on a single piece of paper, the US dollar. So, how on earth did one currency become the undisputed king of the global economy? Let's dive in and find out.
Just take a second and let that sink in. It really sounds like an exaggeration, doesn't it? But it's not. The dollar, it isn't just money. You can think of it as the operating system for global finance. I mean, from the oil that goes in your car to the phone you're probably holding right now, chances are the dollar had a hand in getting it to you. It's the silent partner in trillions of dollars of transactions every single day. And that is the central mystery we're going to unravel today. How did one single country's currency get so powerful that it could literally create economic tsunamis on the other side of the planet? Well, it's a story that's part bold strategy, part historical accident, and part just raw exercise of power.
And let's be crystal clear about something. This did not happen by accident. This wasn't some lucky roll of the dice. The dollar's reign was designed. It was engineered. It was a new world order, built right out of the wreckage of the old one. Okay, so our story really kicks off right at the end of World War II. I mean, you have to picture it. The world was basically a smoldering ruin. Economies were just shattered. And out of all that chaos, a new king was about to be crowned. But this king, it wasn't going to be a person. It was a currency. 70%. That number right there, it's the key to this whole thing. While basically the rest of the world was in ashes, the United States was this undisputed economic giant, and it was holding a staggering 70% of all the world's gold. Now, this wasn't just about being rich. This was the ultimate bargaining chip. It was the leverage you needed to completely rewrite the rules of global finance. And this timeline really shows you the playbook, the key moves. So in 1944, you have this huge conference at a place called Bretton Woods. And basically, all the world's leaders got together and made a deal. They agreed to tie their currencies to the dollar, and the dollar, in turn, would be tied to gold. Just like that, the dollar became the official anchor for the entire global economy. And get this, even when the US decided to cut the cord to gold back in 1971, it didn't matter. The world was already way too dependent on the system to even think about letting it go. But, winning the crown is one thing. Keeping it, that's a whole different ballgame. So how does the dollar manage to maintain its reign today? Well, it all comes down to what I like to think of as three incredibly strong pillars of power. Okay, pillar number one is something called dollar dependency. And it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Think of it like this. If you want to buy oil on the global market, guess what? You need dollars. Want to trade a bunch of goods with another country? You're almost certainly going to settle that bill in dollars. What this does is create this constant, permanent, worldwide demand for American currency. And that dependency naturally leads us to the second pillar, trust. I mean, just look at this. When countries around the world save up for a rainy day, when they build their national reserves, where do they park their money? More than 60% of the time, it's in US dollars. That is a massive, massive global bet that the dollar is the safest place to put your money on the entire planet. So why all that trust? Well, that's the third pillar. The US has the world's biggest economy, period. It also has the most liquid financial markets, which is just a fancy way of saying it's super easy to buy and sell stuff, assets. And of course, all of that is backed by the most powerful military in the world. So when things start to get a little scary out there, money doesn't walk, it runs straight to the safety of the dollar. But the dollar's power, it goes way beyond just the economy. It has a much darker side, a hidden power. You could even call it a superweapon that can bring entire nations to their knees without ever firing a single shot. Yeah, we're not talking about a weapon of bombs and bullets here. We're talking about a weapon of finance. And believe me, its impact can be just as devastating as any physical war. The weapon itself is shockingly simple. It's financial isolation. See, because the entire world runs on dollars, the US has the power to just cut anyone off from the system. I mean, think about countries like Iran or North Korea, who are largely shut out from global trade. It's like with the flip of a switch, a country can be completely locked out of the global economy. It's that powerful. And that, right there, is the ultimate power of the dollar. It's not just money, it's a tool of global influence. It's a way to project power without ever having to deploy a single soldier. So this all begs a pretty obvious question, right? If the dollar gives the US this much power, why doesn't the rest of the world just, find a new currency to use? Well, the answer is, it's just not that simple. The honest truth is, right now,
There really isn't a viable alternative. I mean, the dollar has the whole package. It has stability, it has trust, and it has global acceptance. Sure, other currencies out there might have one or two of those qualities, but none of them have the complete package. At least, not yet.
So from now on, when you hear people talking about inflation or trade wars or global conflicts, I want you to remember this hidden empire of the dollar. Because for better or for worse, it is the very backbone of our interconnected modern world.
And all of this brings us to one final crucial question. If the real battlefield of the 21st century isn't fought with armies, but with currency, who's going to fire the next shot? Because the answer to that question, well, it's going to shape the future for all of us.